So one of the doubts that comes up for me when I practice, I've been acquainted with and reading about and learning about Buddhist and non-dual teachings for uh, decades, maybe 3 decades, um, and uh, in these teachings, it's often expressed that this type of self-inquiry can lead, or meditative practices can lead to this realization that um, you know n- not only is there no separation in our daily experience really between the known and the knower, but somehow this practice leads to some sort of transcendent uh, feeling or experience that you know people talk about realizing that even time is an illusion, or that the idea that birth and death are an illusion. um, and yet when I do these practices, I have no problem seemingly getting in touch with this experience in my moment to moment awareness, that there's not actually a separation between the knower and the known. But and you referred to this a few minutes ago, that the knower really can't. The knower needs the known to arise. So there will come a time, whether it's when I'm having surgery and I'm under anesthesia, or maybe when I'm in deep sleep, or when I die eventually, that I will no longer have the faculties um, I won't be able to be in touch with things to know. So then in that case, doesn't and then in that case the knower vanishes. So in a sense, doesn't that mean that I am still a finite self? Because whatever it is right now that maybe has access to a non-dual experience, that process of consciousness will cease, because there will no longer be sensory input or anything else to perceive. Does that question
So
make sense?
yeah, completely. So it's a great question, and it's quite it leans a little bit into philosophy, because it's anything after death is a philosophical experience, because we can never truly know. What we can know is when I go to sleep, I wake up and something knows I've been asleep. It's not a clean jump cut. And often when we wake up, we have a sense of whether or not that was a good sleep. And the deepest sleep is the cessation of all gross experience. So there's only the knower. So what tends to happen is we say goodbye to people in the world, and that fades. We go to our bedroom, and then we say goodbye to our bedroom when we close our eyes, and that fades. And then our senses start to fade, and then there's not so much a recollection of the subtle senses going and the thoughts stopping. We sometimes can observe it, but not always. And then there is deep sleep, if there's no dreams, and then we wake up and something knows we've been asleep, which means that we have the capacity to perceive a non-conceptual void. A non-conceptual void is an experience devoid of perceptions, which then creates timelessness, because all time is the distance between two perceptions. And it's a very fluid and non-standard sense. Sometimes it goes quick, sometimes it goes slow, right? So it's always moving. So it's very arbitrary in a way. But when you go into that deep sleep, then you are experiencing your true nature every night. I think this is the funniest thing about our experience, is that what we're all looking for, we're literally shown it every single night. I think that's just the funniest trick. It's like, go and look for this elusive thing. And by the way, here it is every single night. So, with that said, I take great comfort in knowing that there is a level of permanence and stability about the knower that I'm familiar with in my life. The great sages, the rishis, they postulated that this knower exists before, during, and after the emergence of the body. And when you now we have to end the discussion on direct experience, and we have to ask ourselves, what's more likely, that the body appears and my little bit of consciousness appears in my little head like a monkey, and it exists while I'm around and then it goes away, or there is a pervasive consciousness which is creating all forms. And this is the big debate in all of non-duality of the hard problem, the hard conscious problem. Is there matter generating consciousness, or does consciousness create everything and we perceive it as matter? And in my understanding, from what I can see, I feel more comfortable and more aligned with the perception that consciousness is pervasive and my body appears within consciousness for a certain amount of time, the same way an actor appears on the screen. I feel that that feels more resonant to me. There are some teachers out there, Sam Harris? I think, yeah. He is the opposite. He believes that it's only matter that's generating consciousness, and then that's his way of looking at things. So how I shut this down, because it's an irrelevant topic as far as I'm concerned for my life, is what's more useful for my lived experience, what brings more peace and harmony. And I think when I look at Sam Harris's experience, he seems very stable. He seems very confident in his understanding. He seems quite happy with his materialistic view. So everything else is the same, but he's a materialist. And then Rupert Spira, everything is the same, but he's a non-dualist. And it doesn't really matter. You can find freedom in the knowledge that while you're alive, there is a stable consciousness through which everything appears, but then it doesn't apply to you, right? That can work. Or there is one unified field of consciousness and we're all part of it. So how I would close this, and not because it's a good question, but just it's a philosophy, so it can go on forever. How I close it is this. It's do you believe in oneness? And if you do, why would you leave yourself out of it? Or you don't believe in oneness, in which case we might as well go and try and make a lot of money or something. And find happiness that way, which doesn't work. So that's how I end it. I just say to myself, look, do I believe in oneness? Yes. Then I'm not leaving myself out of it.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just say that as I practice with this question, I'm trying not to actually turn it into a philosophy. You know, I mean, I've studied these teachings long enough to know that the mind is very tricky, and you know, it will pull you up into some sort of internal philosophical debate, and that actually it can be disconnecting from, you know, actually just being with moment to moment experience. So
exactly. The enjoyable thing about this question is that the idea that we're separate, materialist, appears as consciousness, abides as consciousness, and subsides as consciousness. And the idea that we are unified and integrated as one consciousness arises in consciousness, abides in consciousness, and subsides in consciousness. They both do the same thing, and they leave no trace. So that's where I find the great relief of all experience is the understanding that it never fully crystallizes as a thing. So the thoughts, confusion about the thoughts, clarity about the thoughts, they never crystallize as some separate thing, and that's where the liberation is found.
Mm.